So many people want to start a business and they're like, okay, well, why didn't I hit my $1 million in revenue 3 months into it? Are you kidding? That's like telling a pregnant woman, hey, can you speed this up? You know, it's just not, it's not possible. I think when you start a project and you want to, focus on what your success looks like, you really have to figure out, what am I doing every day to move that needle?
Welcome to Seriously Catherine, a podcast about taking your business seriously, but not yourself. All right, episode 2, guys. I can't believe it. I'm still here for it. I hope you're here for it too. On this episode, our guest is Berdar. She is the co-founder of Bear Blends. And if you've been to a Bear Blends, then you know how delicious these smoothies are. And so she's here to tell us her story. This week's hot take is all about TGIF. So this prompted a rabbit hole of research last night based on, and conversations at the dinner table. So we have Sunday dinner, and first of all, we ordered the family dinner from Fat Paulie's with spaghetti meatballs. It comes with 2 loaves of bread, 4 salads. We got cannolis too. It didn't come with it, but you should get the cannolis because they're good. Anyway, so we're sitting around the kitchen table, and I brought up Suzanne Somers, and she just passed away. R.I.P. But she was like the quintessential hot mom. Wouldn't you say? I mean, I was a kid and I was like, man, she's beautiful. She's so in shape. She looks so good. She's been working that Thigh Master, and I just loved her. And I loved her on Step by Step. She was the mom in Step by Step with, I think it was Patrick Duffy was the dad, who also was a pretty hot dad. He was like manly man, hot dad. Okay. So there, I don't know if anyone knows what the show is, but it came on TGIF. It was, after you got home from school on Fridays, you turned on the television, you watch all these shows that all came in a row. So Step by Step was one of them. And Mark thinks Family Matters was one of them. Okay, Family Matters. And then I said, well, was the Cosby Show one of them? Because I definitely watched the Cosby Show growing up. Somebody has to educate me here. Like, what was the actual rundown schedule of show for TGIF? But what's really, really cool, right? So my sister-in-law, she is 7 years older than Mark. And she was like, listen, Suzanne Somers wasn't known for Step by Step. She was known as Three's Company. And so we talked all about that. But I mean, how awesome is this? Like, this woman spanned generations of people. Anyway, R.I.P. Suzanne Somers and the Thigh Master. She was also a big advocate. She went through breast cancer, survived breast cancer. She was a big advocate about that. She publicly was battling that. Also, I found out that she passed away on CBS Sunday Morning. That is where I get my news. So I have to give a shout out to Miss Helen Lang, which is my best friend from high school and college's mom. She always had CBS Sunday Morning on. Like, if we spend the night, Saturday night, drinking, whatever, we wake up and she always had it blaring CBS Sunday Morning. I always thought oh my God, this is such an old lady's show. And now I am that old lady in my in my sweater watching CBS Sunday Morning. It's so uplifting, like a silver lining of the news. We watch it as a family. The girls watch it. They also learned about all the news, right, in the world through CBS Sunday Morning. Because I don't watch the news in the morning. I don't watch it at night either. Okay, we don't want to go there because this is escapism, and so I don't want to talk about the news right now. But I learned that Suzanne Somers passed away on CBS Sunday Morning. They did a memoriam during the credits and stuff. So anyway, it just took us down a rabbit hole, and I want to know: do you know the Step by Step theme song? Because I do. Oh, here's a good facepalm moment. So my kids are obsessed with Target. They want to go to Target all the time. And then we go through the self-checkout. And I usually do just let them get a little something. So lately they've been getting, it's this bottle of, it's almost like a bottle of Pixie sugar. And then there's literally a nipple that they dip into, which the nipple is candy, like hard candy. And they dip it into the powder and then they suck on it. It's so weird. So And I prefer them to get Kinder Joys. That's how I usually try to influence their decisions to get the Kinder Joys. This one particular time, Ruby got a push pop, which is just like hard candy and you push it up. And Zia got this stupid bottle thing. And we get in the car and it's like, we went through Target. I brought both of these children to Target with me, which is the first mistake. We get to the car and I'm like, just so grateful to be in the privacy of my own vehicle. Ish, right? Because I'm like in between cars. I got them in the car seat. Like simultaneously, they both drop their shit, right? They lose their shit and they drop their shit and then they lose their shit. And then I lose my shit because it's like, I'm not going to pick up this candy off the ground in the Target parking lot and hand it back to you to eat, right? And anyway, so like, this was just an experience, like one of those moments where you're just like, what, why? Why was I thinking that I should bring these rotten children to Target and then give them what they want and then they destroy it by dropping it and just like losing it, you know? So obviously if you're a parenting expert, you can send me a message and let me know like what I got wrong here, probably because I was giving them what they wanted and they hadn't had naps or whatever it is. But it was just one of those moments where I'm just like, fuck, what was I thinking? Why? Why do I do this to myself? So another a recurring theme in my life is that I have FOMO. So like, for example, on Friday, Mark got home. He's traveling for work. So he got home, must have been like 5:30. And we were all getting ready to go to the Halloween fun festival at Posey and Ruby's school. And so I had every intention on like all of us going, and Zia was with my sister-in-law, so we didn't have to battle her. And so we were all going to go to this thing. And Mark's like, actually, why don't you just stay home? Why don't you just stay and just chill and have like 2 hours of just doing whatever it is you want to do? And I'm like, okay, like this seems like this should be the best thing, right? But so then I did. I let them go. They went to the fun festival or whatever, and around 8:05, they're like home already. The thing ended at 8, but they were home at 8:05, which seems strange to me. And they were like, Posey was not thrilled. Ruby was upset because she didn't realize it was going to be like a scary thing. I guess she didn't want to do the haunted house. She didn't want to do the scooter thing. And she said everyone was jumping out at her. Everyone was dressed up. I'm like, yeah, dude, it was Halloween. It's a Halloween fun festival. So anyway, my point was, had I been there, right, it would have been a different experience. I'm not saying Mark is not fun. He is. He's a fun guy. But the whole experience is overwhelming. And so he probably wasn't the most fun version of himself, especially not in Ruby's eyes. Posey had a great time. She was like, you know, look, I did the scooter thing and I did the haunted house and in and out, ready to go. And Ruby was just upset. So my point though is like, I get FOMO. So it's like, I'm being gifted this free time to be by myself on a Friday night to do whatever it is I want to do, which I think I took a shower again. Vacation for me is a shower with no one opening the curtain and asking for anything. The bar has been lowered. Hospital stays or a shower without interruption. But I have like FOMO. So I'm like, you know, also when I have the opportunity to do whatever it is I want to do, I want to work and I want to be with my kids. All right, guys, today I have something truly special for all of you listeners out there, especially if you're planning a getaway or a staycation in the heart of Saratoga Springs, New York. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the hidden gem of Saratoga Springs, the Adelphi Hotel. Not really hidden, though, because it is right smack dab in the middle of town on Broadway. If you're searching for an experience that combines history, luxury, and modern charm, the Adelphi Hotel is the place to be. It's more like a resort, if you ask me. I've had the opportunity to stay here, and let me tell you, it's an absolute dream. Did you know that they also host events and weddings? Yes, they do it all. The Adelphi Hotel is more than just a place to stay. It's an experience in itself. Picture yourself in a room with stunning decor and plush bedding. You will feel like royalty. If you're able, definitely book the Polaris room because it has a jacuzzi tub on the balcony. I mean, what mom doesn't need a staycation here with no kids and maybe even no husband? Foodies, listen up. Morrissey's Lounge and Bistro, their on-site restaurant, offers a culinary journey that's nothing short of exquisite. Have you had the best sushi in town yet? Well, this is where you get it. Get the rainbow roll. You'll thank me later. So, dear listeners, whether you're planning a romantic getaway, a girls' weekend, or just a relaxing solo escape, the Adelphi Hotel is your perfect destination. When you're here, you're not just a guest, you're part of the legacy of Saratoga Springs. Book your stay today. The Polaris Suite. Today on Seriously Catherine, I'm so excited to be sitting down with Annie Berdar. She is the co-founder and franchisor for Bear Blends, the president and COO for the Bear Blends franchise. She's on the board of directors for the United Way of the Greater Capital Region. She's recently been honored by the Business Review as a Woman in Business and previously won New York State's Entrepreneur of the Year award. Annie's passions include nutrition education, business development, health and wellness, and the culinary arts. I hope you love our conversation about imposter syndrome, how she does it all, her love for the capital region, and what's next. Let's talk about you. Wait, you were working at the yoga place.
Yes.
Yes, so, that's where you met Jess.
Yeah, my partner Jess, she had, now more, but she had 10 years plus of business experience when I met her. And she founded the Hot Yoga Studio, and I loved yoga. I still love yoga. I still teach yoga, actually, like right at the
hot yoga, right?
Hot yoga spot. Yeah, 100%. But yeah, so Jess and I came together when I was 21, 22, because I wanted to teach at her yoga studio. She asked me, what are your plans for the future? And at the time, I was pursuing biochemistry. I loved nutrition. I loved science, but I didn't know if I wanted to be in the medical field or not. I didn't believe in big pharma to a certain extent. I mean, it's obviously necessary in some capacities, but I just thought, why don't we focus more on preventative medicine? And do I really want to go down that rabbit hole? Am I going to be satisfied with a job in that field? And I realized, kind of like you when you were first starting out, like, I just want to do this and solve this problem, and here's how I think I'm going to do it. And so when she asked me that question, I said, I love science and I love all those things, but I would really love to own some type of healthy cafe concept, because I really do believe that, you are what you eat. And I believe that if you approach it from like an educational standpoint and a science background, you can help move the needle in the right direction when it comes to health and wellness. Yeah. Especially in this country. I mean, we eat so much garbage, and sometimes unknowingly. We don't necessarily know.
I would say the majority of everyone we know, America in general is like processed food.
Yeah. And it just keeps getting worse, which is so interesting. Like statistically, it keeps getting worse and worse. Like,
and better.
Right. Yeah. So she asked me, and that was my answer. And she said, I love health and wellness too. And I also want to start a business related to food, but I don't know how to do it. And I lease the space next door to my hot yoga studio. Do you want to do it together? Yeah. And that's kind of how it started. And I made that my baby. And we opened in a 700 square foot space. It was so tiny. And we only did bowls and smoothies at the time. And I knew I wanted to expand what we could do. And we just kind of grew from there. I mean, I worked my butt off. I didn't, didn't sleep. I still don't.
Yeah,
the business keeps evolving, know, so it's like...
Yeah, and you were like behind the counter, making...
I literally was behind the counter yesterday at my Latham store. So there's I don't think, some people glamorize this whole business owner thing, and it's like, if I gotta scrub toilets, I'm gonna scrub toilets. I gotta do whatever I gotta do to make it.
Well, and I think that's why who you are as a person resonates with me so much. Is you're so authentic, and you really do show kind of the ins and outs of it, right? So you're still teaching yoga. Yeah, you're still working behind the counter at Bear, and 100%. And then on the flip side of it, you're putting together franchise disclosure documents. I'll never forget, you were at Palette. You had your first meeting with a potential franchisee. And you were so excited and
freaking out.
And I was just wow, you're doing this. And it seemed to me, I know this is not the truth, but it seemed to me it did happen overnight. You were on it.
Yeah. I mean,
you had meetings lined up. It was I don't know how else to say it, but overnight it was so exciting.
Yeah. It was very quick. I think there is a benefit to that. And then I think there's also a drawback to that, because you get really excited, to your point, what we were kind of talking about before. You get really excited about where you see yourself going. And sometimes that excitement overcomes you, and you don't necessarily put everything in place to say, okay, when this happens, what am I going to do? Or where are the support that I need? Or what happens when a global pandemic happens, And so I think it seems like it happened almost overnight. There was a lot of work behind it, but in hindsight, we opened a location. We did really well with it. We opened a second one. It was crushing it. We turned it into a franchise, and now here we are. And I honestly, I love, because our food is gluten-free, it's vegan, it's whole food, plant-based. Like, we really don't serve garbage in any capacity. And it's so exciting to me to see how many people are interested in being a part of that, because they're like, so many people do care about health and wellness. They just don't necessarily understand how to incorporate that into their lives. So the initial excitement with the franchise was so validating for me. And I'm so grateful for that. And even the continued interest in the franchise, people just wanting to bring health and wellness to their own community.
Yeah.
It makes me feel like I did something right.
Yeah, or you're doing it. I mean, you're literally in the moment of it, right? You're doing it right now.
Yeah.
So you own, like, from a local standpoint, you own, is it 3 locations?
Yep.
Like, corporately owned?
Yep.
And then you have these franchisees, and how many are we up to now?
Yeah, so we have 4 local franchises, and then we have one out in Colorado. We're actually opening Boston this weekend. We're waiting on one more permit to pass for them. So I say that lightly, but hopefully this weekend Boston is going to open, which is a brand new market for us. I'm so excited about it. It's right. I don't know if you're familiar with Boston or.
Yeah, Mark and I lived in Boston, and we lived in the Back Bay neighborhood. We just went there. We brought the kids back just to see it. It was fun. I mean, it's a different. Yeah, it's a big city.
Right.
So, and are you targeting college towns?
Honestly, yes and no. I think targeting more urban areas is something that I'm looking to do moving forward. Like, our Saratoga store has been crushing it from the beginning, and it just keeps, getting better and better. And we're technically off what some people would call the beaten path, because we're right off Broadway, but we're right behind the Welcome Center. Yeah, well,
you have parking. You don't have to deal with Broadway bullshit. You like, and the girls in there are so sweet.
Oh, thank you.
Like, they're just so, like, kind. Yeah. It's like they know you. I mean, but this is like. But
I think it's also because, like, we do something that makes them feel like them serving something that they know they are excited to serve. Like, I think they genuinely enjoy making the product because it's unique. I think they enjoy prepping for the salads that we do because it's so unique. Like, what other place are you going to go to where they're like, I'm going to teach you how to make whole food, plant-based ingredients, and if nothing else, you can take this with you as a life skill from here on out. So now, like, in your own life, you know how to make overnight oats, and you know how to make healthy smoothies, and you know how to tell the difference between something that's healthy and something that's not. So I think they genuinely enjoy that piece of it. And I think some people really enjoy customer service, some people don't, but the ones who enjoy interacting with the public and sharing the fact that, like, we're doing something super healthy. And, I think it makes them feel good. So we really try to focus on that positive work environment and make it not extremely taxing for them on the back end. Like, I'm always looking at the operation and saying, like, how can we do better and how can we operate more quickly, but of course without compromising the product. And I think that's where sometimes when people develop food service concepts, sometimes they compromise the integrity of the product for that service piece of it, for the speed. And when it comes to natural food, you really can't cheat it. It's either natural or it's not.
Yeah. I remember one day I walked in, I don't know what she was cooking. It smelled like garlic and, like, it must have been like tofu or something.
We make a roasted garlic tempeh on one of our salads. It's so good.
It smelled so good. And I was just blown away. And then there was something. So I just went to Kripalu a couple weeks ago. Have you ever been? I'm sure you have.
I haven't actually been, but I've
Annie!
heard. I know. Well, yeah. In my next life, when I have more time, I'll do more things.
But. I know. So the first time I went to Kripalu was in March. Yeah. And I just needed to get away. We had childcare. So I was like, peace out. You know? And it's a yoga retreat. It's a yoga wellness retreat center. Like, lots of people who are into yoga know about Kripalu. Yeah. They've trained there. It's like supposed to be like the country's best training.
Like the Mecca.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I am not even, like, I think I almost died the first time I attempted hot yoga. I think I went outside and puked in the parking lot. Yeah. But just to point out, like, I'm not this, like, I'm active because I have 3 little kids, but I haven't worked out since, I haven't worked out in a long time. Yeah. So I wasn't going for the yoga. I was going for just, like, the getaway. And it was so transformational. So all the food is included, right? So you go there and you eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner there. So, like,
like health and wellness.
Healthy. It's, like, plant-based. Yeah. There's everything. And they do, like, a tempeh. I don't know if it's tempeh. It's like, is tempeh, can you ground it?
You can, yeah.
Or maybe it was tofu, grounded tofu, but it was like a whatever, scramble, like in the
so
morning.
good.
It was like peppers. And I was just like, this food is so good. How is it tasting so good?
Yeah.
You know? But it's like, it was a great exercise in like, you know, just resetting.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're not eating shit, then the good stuff starts to really taste good.
Right. And I think like with that point, that's one of my favorite things to do, to show people that this stuff can be really, really good. And it's actually easy to make. It's easier to make than animal-based products.
I know, but like I still can't bring myself to make a smoothie at home. I have to go to Bear.
Yeah. Well, that's fine. Yeah. Well, I'm not going to tell you how to make a smoothie.
So tell me, you brought smoothies, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like I invited you to be on this podcast because I would get free smoothies, but there was a thought in my head like surely she's going to bring smoothies. But so tell me what is in this one. I usually get the California Cleanse. When I go to the Bear, I go to the one in Saratoga Springs, and I don't even know what it has in it. It has like blueberries. Because I was like looking for blueberries. And the California Cleanse it's got protein in it.
Vanilla protein,
and
kale.
It's got
so you get your greens
kale.
in there.
But it's so good. Like how is it the sweetness from the blueberries?
No, probably from the banana in there.
Oh, banana.
Yeah,
okay.
so there's banana in there, and the vanilla protein has a sweeter flavor to it too. So it hides like the bitterness from the kale.
So this one is called
pumpkin chip muffin smoothie. So I brought stuff from our fall menu because we have a fall menu right now. The pumpkin chip muffin smoothie also has protein in it. It's really good. It has real pumpkin, banana, vanilla protein, cacao nibs, which is like a natural form of chocolate. So, no dairy, no sugar in there. And then it's blended with almond milk. That one's one of my favorite breakfast smoothies.
It's really good.
So good.
And I guess there is no peanut butter in it?
Nope.
No, it tastes like...
There's like a little flavor in there.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, I love that one. And then I brought the autumn berry one, which is one of my favorites because I'm a big berry girl. But that one is acai, blueberry, strawberry, cinnamon, and nutmeg, and has like a tiny hint of agave in there to enhance that sweetness in the berry. It's really good. And you can add protein to anything.
So when you are eating like throughout the day, you can't live off of smoothies? No. What else do you eat?
We have smoothie bowls. We also do salads. We do grain bowls. We do gluten-free vegan waffles, both sweet and savory ones. So there's plenty of variety for sure. I'm a big salad girl, and honestly, I'm so proud of the salads that we serve because they're so nutritionally complete, and they were designed that way. So they have plant-based protein in them, but not any like synthetic meat substitutes or anything like that. As much as I love that those companies are creating those products because they're definitely healthier than the meat that you would eat. But I think, getting food in its most natural form is the best. So we use like tofu and tempeh and nuts and seeds to add the protein into our salads. We do grains in the form of whole grains, and they're also gluten-free grains. So, they appeal to the gluten-free customers that we have too. And then we'll add like different vegetables that have different benefits to them that also help with the absorption of the nutrients in the other ingredients in the salad. So like everything's very well balanced. There's greens with both our grain bowls and our salads. So people get, their daily serving of greens as well. All the dressings that we make are made in-house. They're very clean as well. We don't put any preservatives in them. They only last a couple days. So everything is like as fresh as possible.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, so I'll have like a smoothie in the morning or like a smoothie bowl. And everything's like pretty filling too. When you eat real food, it's like very nutrient dense. I think a lot of our clientele live in Saratoga. We kind of appeal to this type of customer base. The product isn't cheap, so candidly, like it's something that you have to have disposable income to afford. And I try to combat that personally in donating my time with different organizations that focus on childhood education, nutrition, health and wellness. I'm also on the board of directors for United Way, and we have a bunch of different like nutrition related projects that we do. And so right now, just with supply chain and with ingredients, healthy is expensive and you have to pay a premium for it. Unfortunately, if I could give away a smoothie for free every day or multiple smoothies or our entire menu, I would, because I really do believe in the benefits of our product, but obviously it's a business. So there's that piece of it. So I think just naturally, demographically, Saratoga is appealing. But that being said, too, we're in other markets throughout the capital region, and all of the locations do very well. So I think we've also kind of come to a point where people are willing to invest in their health. And I think people prioritize that and know that, if you spend that extra money on eating healthy ingredients, you're probably not going to have to spend as much money later on healthcare. So
you live in Saratoga, right?
Yeah, so I live in Saratoga. Yeah, I live in Saratoga. I live right on Broadway, and I personally love it here. I'm originally from Westchester. My family still lives down there, and we're always very close to the city. And in high school, when I had my friends in high school, it was like we all went to college. We went our separate ways, and most of them went to work in the city and stayed in Westchester. And I was like that one that stayed up in upstate New York. And I honestly love the capital region. And there is so much opportunity for growth and development here. And I've said this a million times. Like, I just think that with the energy and like the business focus that we have here, we could make the capital region such a special place. For sure. So I really enjoy the community up here. I love being up here. I really like Saratoga.
Well, I consider you like a regionalist, right? You're like all about, you're not, there are some people who just like stay in Troy or stay in Schenectady or stay in Saratoga. A lot of people just stay in Saratoga.
Right. I try to bounce around. I do like.
But you do. You get around the whole region.
Yeah, and I have friends who live.
It sounded bad, but we need everybody to get around.
Yeah, well, I think it's important, right? Because there are so many different pockets of awesomeness. It's a horrible word, but that's so true. Like.
Yeah, I don't mind. Like, I think last week I drove down to Schenectady one day, came back, went to Latham, came back. Like, I love the Northway. It's like the only time that I get a chance.
Do you? I don't know if I love the Northway.
That's the only time I get a chance to like be alone in my car, like listening to a podcast or listening to the radio. You
need that separation from church and state sometimes. I think like so my corporate office is in Latham, and I feel the same way. Like I drive down there, pretty much every day, and I'm like, this is great. This is my podcast time. Yeah. So, and I feel like I live right downtown. The kids go to school downtown. Palad's downtown. So I literally sometimes will never leave like a 2-3 block radius. Yeah. It's not healthy. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's great to have that, right? Like I used to say when we really lived downtown, I used to say like we put more miles on the stroller than the car, and it was, which is kind of great though. You know, like I don't hate that. Sometimes there are definitely times when I wish that our corporate office was in like the Saratoga store, so I could just walk down the street.
Yeah. Well, and I think that with the capital region, we have that capacity where we can some days stay in the neighborhood and some days we can go out, and it's still everything's very accessible.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So did you just open one in North Greenbush, East Greenbush?
Yeah, North Greenbush is the one that's the most recent one in the capital region. It's right across from Hudson Valley. So they actually developed that whole area recently. They put in roundabouts where there were previously a bunch of traffic lights, so the traffic flows really smoothly. And they put in we're in a building where one end cap is Starbucks. I think we're the other end cap, actually. Maybe.
You have a drive-through?
No. Oh. But that would be cool. I mean, that would be great. It's just our product like requires so much attention to detail right now. Again, it's that whole like I don't want to compromise the product and pump it out. If I could make it happen, I would. Don't you worry.
A drive-through.
Yeah. Oh my God, that'd be great. Oh. And this is like a perfect example of like people who jump the gun with things, right? Because it's like, what a great idea. Cool. So instead of like, I think most people, or at least maybe this is just me because this is just how I used to operate, but I'd be like, great, let me find a building with a drive-through and we'll just do it. You don't know what you don't know. You'll figure it out along the way. Right. But it's like, no, you can't do that. Like you really have to operate from the mindset of like ready, aim, fire, because if you don't, I mean, that could be a huge failure. I mean, what if nobody comes to my drive-through and all this money that I invested in building a drive-through isn't worth it?
And it's more expensive to have that oh my
God, it's so expensive. Well, because if you propose it the way that you just did, right, I just doubled my operation. So I just doubled my labor cost right there, right? And then all the signage that you need to display for a drive-through, that costs a ton of money. Making sure that it's open and operating when we want to, just overseeing it costs a ton of money. How much more product do I have to order? That's a risk in and of itself. So it's like, I think like really figuring out, and this is for like anyone, I think, who wants to start a business, it's just really figuring out what you want to be doing every single day in your business and really figuring out what it looks like and what the potential failures are with it and the potential successes too, not to be negative, but
no, it's
I
true.
think it's just nobody thinks about it.
What I believe is the big disconnect is that we see the end result for a lot of people's successes or even failures, right? So we see the end result and we are like, wow, we don't want that, or we do want that.
Yeah.
And we're not told, or the veil's not lifted, or the hood's not lifted underneath of what happens in between, right? Like the COVID, I mean, just like the staff person who just doesn't show up one day. Like not everyone shares that part of it. Yeah. And it's so much of it. Right. Like if there's like one main thing that goes well, there are like 5 things that didn't go well, which are what my perspective is, how did I show up in those circumstances? Yeah. And I'm proud to say that I like do try my best every day and think holistically about a problem to come up with a solution. But, if you focus on just the one thing that went right, it's like, I just don't think we get a full picture. Like, Beyonce she didn't just like overnight have everything that she has, right? It took a lot of time, like a lot of planning, a lot of due diligence, like, I think that's the biggest key to success. I really think it's just time and patience. I think that when you talk about success, because so many people always wonder, like, what is the golden ticket to success? And like, I actually listened to a podcast about this the other day and I thought it was really insightful. And the person who was sharing their opinion had reached that point in their career where they were like, okay, now I feel like I'm qualified to talk about this. And, candidly, I know I'm personally not there yet. I mean, there's no way. I've been owning and operating businesses for 5 years, and I think I'll be where I want to be maybe in 10 years if everything goes well. So like maybe ask me in another 5 years, what I think success looks like. But I think so many people have, there are autobiographies written and there are resources out there for you to read about success. And a lot of people are like, well, you got to wake up early and start your day and, you got to work really hard at it. And it's like, okay. But I really think that it's just patience. Like so many people want to start a business and they're like, okay, well, why didn't I hit my $1 million in revenue 3 months into it? And it's like, are you kidding? That's like telling a pregnant woman, like, hey, can you like speed this up? It's like, it's just not, it's not possible. Like the universe decided that it takes 9 months to make a baby. Yeah. And so it's going to take 9 months. You know what I mean? But I think when you like start a project and you want to, focus on what your success looks like, you really have to figure out, what am I doing every day to move that needle? Like what role do I play in my success and what does my life look like through that process so I can hit that point of success? Right. Because I think too, when you ask somebody like, what do you want? They're like, well, I want to be rich, and I want generational wealth for my family. And I want to start a business that's going to make me all this money and whatever. And it's usually like very fiscally focused and it's kind of like, okay, but what do you want? Like actually, what I mean? And what are you willing to do? And how long are you willing to wait? Right. Because I think everybody kind of has their time, like if I want to be successful in 5 years, I got to make sure I have a plan in place. And I got to understand my role and my team's role and what the potential drawbacks are and what the potential elevations are through that process. And you got to be realistic about it. And I think that's, if people really sit down and think about all those things, that's where they usually give up, right? Because they're like, oh no. That's a lot of work. Right. That's a lot of work. Yeah. So I was having this conversation at dinner the other night with a friend of mine that I went to college with, and she lives up here now. And we were just talking about, my perspective was, listen, you go through a lot of, hard times, trauma, what have you, and it builds you, right? Yeah. And then you come out on the other side of it and you are who you are, And she's like, that's total bullshit. Like, you didn't have to go through trauma or like hard times to be who you are. Like, you were always going to be who you are. Yeah. And so I would love to get your perspective on this because some may say like, well, you were at the right time at the right place. You met Jess. She gave you this opportunity. You guys partnered to open Bear. Would you have opened Bear? Would you have done something already?
Yeah, so I think that was my intention already. I am very grateful for the partnership with Jess, but the partnership doesn't come without its flaws, and this business has not come without its flaws and with its areas for improvement, absolutely not. And I think sometimes when people look at people who are successful, they see an article written about them or something, and they're like, wow, like this person popped up overnight. They built $1 million business. It looks like overnight.
I fucking love when people tell me that, and I'm just like, yeah. You have no clue, right? You have no idea what I've given up to be here, or how many hard conversations I've had with my partner, or how many, just like, oh my God, so many difficult conversations that you have to have, and hard work and boundaries. I mean, just it doesn't piss me off, but it also is like, makes me feel like, okay, I must not be sharing enough.
Yeah.
And that's what I go back to, like, people just don't know, which again, this is kind of like the purpose of this podcast, is like to dispel the myth that, I am successful, or I have it all together, or I know exactly what I'm doing.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's like, it's admirable to want to share those things, but I think no matter what, you're not going to reach every single human being on the planet. And what
do you mean? The world, global domination.
The world is watching. The world's not going to know. But I think it's just human nature to be like, and it's like the way that our society is right now. Everything is so immediate and instant. And it's the same thing like with Instagram. I look at Instagram and I'm like, wow, this person's life is so perfect. Why can't my life be perfect? Do you know?
I mean, but people watch you, and they think that. I saw that video of you doing like a upside down handstand thing. Like, I mean, I guess that's what you do when you're a yoga person. But I'm like, holy shit, your body is incredible. You are living this amazing life, right? So,
well, I think that's what it looks like, all the time.
But it is what it is, right? Like you are showing exactly what's going on.
Right. So this is a good topic, I think, because I think like Instagram is so deceiving, right? And I've tried for probably the first like 2 to 3 years of Bear, I wouldn't share anything that wasn't related to work, because I didn't want people seeing that I had friends, and that I could be a normal human being, because I was like, well, people always have opinions, and I don't want anybody to formulate a negative opinion about me. And then I hit a point like a year ago where I was like, fuck it. Like if I want to go out there and I want to be like, hi, I'm at a restaurant and I'm having a drink with my friend, I'm not going to like post naked pictures or anything crazy, but like, I was just like, I'm allowed to enjoy my life.
And have a life.
Yeah. And, but But
this is similar to like I think our upbringing, right?
Yeah.
Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're raised by strong, hardworking
immigrants,
parents.
Yeah,
you work harder. Like that's just like the white knuckle it, power through, right? And I'm the same way.
Yeah,
like both my parents still work. I don't think they're ever going to retire.
Yeah,
work. And it's like, well, what about the other side of it? You know, so I think it's important. The other part of it too is like, this shifted my perspective a little bit. Is like, because I would feel guilty sharing, right? Like that I went to Disney World, because I'm a fanatic for Disney. Like, I'm obsessed.
I've seen.
And we know, Catherine.
We know.
So, but I would feel bad about sharing that, or going out to eat, or like, I get it, But it's like, but then I thought to myself, I see other successful, other people that I admire who work really hard, who have this full life, and they are also celebrating their life, right?
But
they're
isn't it crazy?
And I'm not jealous, and I'm not pissed at them. I'm like, holy shit, I want that. I want to be.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to demonstrate both sides of this world.
And I think that's the part of me that was like, okay, I'm going to start sharing now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to start like little tidbits of, me, who I am.
Yeah,
right?
like you travel. It's like, I think, a passion of yours from what I can gather.
I love traveling. Love to travel.
And you don't have kids.
Nope.
And are we dating anybody right now?
We are.
But like, he can come and go, right? Like, if he wants to come on the trip, he can, but otherwise you can go and do your own thing.
Right.
I think so. I'm living a little vicariously through you because although I do travel, I travel with a party of 5 and not a party of 1.
Yeah.
No, I think there's like a bit of an imposter syndrome that I certainly have from time to time, and I'm sure, I mean, everyone has it. I'm sure you experience that as well. It's like, well, why? Like, did you get this sense like when you were like a 40 under 40 and you were a New York State small business entrepreneur?
Yeah, New York State Entrepreneur of the Year. Yeah, that was also last year.
No biggie.
That was
no
nice.
Big deal.
Yeah.
But like you get these acknowledgments, and you're kind of like, wait, is that?
Oh my God,
this for real? Like, do you not? Well,
I've said this
before. Honestly, my opinion is like the Capital Region needs to do better if they think that I'm killing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I resonate with that a little bit. Yeah. Like when I got that New York State award, I had such imposter syndrome because the woman who was introducing me before I received the award was reading like all this stuff that sounded so good. And I was like, is that really me? Like, if you only knew how many times I cried on the floor or like went days without showering because I like didn't have time, you know, it like, yeah. Or the fact that I wake up every day at like 5 just to catch up on emails from the night before sometimes, you know, or like it just, I fully can relate 100% imposter syndrome.
I think it's important. It's like a humility that I think is healthy to not think that if I stood up, like, because I got Women of Capital Region, Women of Excellence, of Women in Business, right?
Yes.
And I had so much fun, mainly because I got to, like, wear this incredible, over-the-top, sparkly outfit.
I love that.
It was awesome. It was so much fun. But, like, you get up on stage, and I'm just kind of like, you know, I think it's a healthy dose of humility where you're like, I don't deserve to be here. But then on the flip note, it's like we do have to be we have to demonstrate more confidence and like, hey, I belong here. They wouldn't have given this to me if I didn't deserve it. You know, I'm inspiring, I'm motivating to people, and I am helping everyone sort of like raise their standards.
Right. I mean, you got nominated for the award, right?
Right.
So somebody had to have thought that about
and I didn't realize I was being nominated. So there's like another misconception. Like somebody, like after that happened, people were like, well, who did you ask to nominate you? I was like, I didn't ask anybody to nominate me.
Yeah.
Like who? Is that what happens? Is that what people do?
Oh my goodness!
You know, or they nominate themselves. I'm like, I did not nominate myself.
No, and I've never done that either. And for 40 under 40, I actually I went to an event or something. I think it was like the track after. I don't know. I ran into this person who we just are acquaintances. We're not very good friends.
Just like another Capital Region like person that you see at events.
Yeah, just events or like we're not far in age and we have similar social circles. And he had congratulated me on the event and then told a friend of mine who then shared with me like she wasn't deserving of that award. Like that's so humiliating to nominate yourself. Like blah blah blah. And I was just like, I didn't even know that was a thing. You know what I mean? So it's just like it's so funny also to see just how some people react to certain things like that. And that goes back to my whole, that's why I don't really share anything, you know? I've been trying to, like I said, but I wasn't.
Well, if nothing comes of this, I think you need to share more because I think that you are inspiring. I think that people, you know, you're a role model, right? Like people like see you out in the world. You're so involved with United Way and the food, you do the food fridge, right? Where you go around, you put food in all the fridges in the region.
Just the one in Albany, but yeah.
And I think there's one in Saratoga too.
Yeah. So the Saratoga store has donated to that one a couple times, but if you asked me where that one was, I couldn't tell you. I actually have no idea.
It's on Beekman or, you know, somewhere on like near the arts. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's good to know.
What's a tip for someone who's listening or watching that wants to start a business?
If you have a proven system and it's awesome, like, great, go for it. You know what I mean? Like, that's the greatest thing. But it's like, you really got to make sure that you have that system in place, you have the right support people, and that you grow with the intention to create generational wealth, because that's what you want to do with franchising, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that sounds, and that's I'm connected with different franchisees and franchisors just through all of this and going through to the trade shows and being a part of the IFA and all of that. And it's amazing. And I think I shared this with you at some point. But last January, February, I went to the International Franchise Association, like their big convention. And beforehand, I was kind of feeling like, there are other business owners in this area, absolutely, and other people who own franchises too, which I've come to find out I didn't know at the time. But I felt like my network of people wasn't necessarily the right fit for me all the time. Like if I wanted to reach out to somebody with like a franchise related question or like a growth and development related question, I just hadn't built my network up to that point yet. And I wasn't aware of the people like in this community that could maybe help me with those things. Yeah. And I was kind of feeling a little, down because I was like, I'm like on this lonely island and I don't really know who to ask for help with this thing.
Specific thing.
Right. Like specific things. And so I went to this convention and I was just thrown into this like sea of me, and I was like, wow. And I made like so many connections and it's so crazy. Like how much community can really boost your morale and how important that is in your life. So I'm going to come full circle here. Watch this. Ready? So my tip is you really you have to identify if you're starting a business, be friends with the people who are in a similar position. Be friends with the people who I have connections to people at Tropical Smoothie, right? Because and there's a concept called Everbowl where I was able to connect with their one of their operations people at this convention. And everybody, even though we have a very similar concept, everybody's so willing to talk about things and share and help you grow. You just have to, ask the right questions and approach it from the same mentality because you never know when they're going to need a question answered from you, Yeah,
and it really is about collaboration. Yeah. And most of these people who are entrepreneurial, they're all about making the pie bigger, not you taking a slice. So it's it's not even competitive. It's about how can we support each other? And this is another thing that, everything's for sale. Right. Right. So you support I mean, I don't know how many times he has told me oh, well, we're selling Island Wing Company. We're the franchisor and we are selling that, you know? So it's those are things that are happening as well. So it's important to just be open to all the possibilities and even of collaboration.
In the smallest setting, right? Because franchising is obviously it's a little bigger, and if we're talking about somebody whose passion is to open a flower shop, let's say. Well, connect with all of the florists in your area. You know what I mean? Connect with the farmers who sell flowers. Connect with the people who operate in the same space that you do, because that's genuinely going to boost your morale and make you more successful. And then my second piece of advice, and so this, I can't take credit for this. This is Jess, but she has reminded me a lot of the time that you should operate from the abundance model. Because if you think that you have to compete with like-minded businesses, I mean, there are so many food concepts in every single town that I've decided to put a bear in, And if you operate from the abundance model and know that there is enough for everybody and everybody can be successful, then you've already won half the battle because you're not freaking out about potentially losing. You're focusing on how you can win and how everybody else can win too.
Yeah.
So I think those are my two tips.
Yeah. It's all about there's enough for everybody. But there's also I think that's an upbringing, right? Right. I just there wasn't never enough. I think because I grew up in a, my parents worked their ass off. Every penny was spent on something, So there literally wasn't enough, right? When growing up. And I just think growing up when you're living in that environment, it's just ingrained to you to kind of you have to reset your brain. And I think spending time with people who have that, it's a game changer. Spending around, it's there's this person I've been hanging out with lately, and it's I'll say something it'll cost, it's no object, nothing is an object. He's that's nothing, that's no big deal. And I'm man, imagine had I grown up where there was plenty of money and plenty of food and plenty of shelter and plenty of all the things, right? You wouldn't be who you are. Imagine what a different version of myself I might be. I think again, back to my friend's dinner conversation, it's like, I would be the same person, but I would probably be a lot less stressed and a lot more hopeful and I think just further along. I have that I mean, this may be a flaw, but it's like I have this like sense of urgency inside of me that like I don't know. This is like going down a whole nother tangent, but it's like you get to the thing that you wanted, and then you're like, okay, and now what's the next? Like I always move the goalpost. I just constantly move the goalpost.
Well, and I think every successful entrepreneur does, right? I think if you grew up with having everything at your disposal and having no worries, you wouldn't have that fire. You wouldn't have the ability to be like, okay, now what? And how do I figure it out? And how do I adapt to my environment and make the change and continue to grow? And that fire, I don't think would exist.
It's like that hustle. I don't know if that comes from, a limited upbringing or it's in you.
Yeah. I don't know. I had a limited upbringing. I mean, my parents were immigrants. They got divorced when I was very young. They were very poor. They worked their asses off. I mean, to this day, like similar to yours, they're never going to retire. And I saw that, and it's not even that you see it as a child, but you like feel it, this like insecurity around finances. It's almost like ingrained in you, and so immediately I think, at least for me, I was like, well, what do I do to try to secure that? But the other piece of that is, what do I do to secure that, but also live the life that I want to live in terms of do what I want to do every day? That's why like when I said before, most people are like, I just want to be successful, but you don't identify what you want to do. Yeah. Because like the morale piece of it is just as important as the financial piece of it. Yeah. If you don't feel like you're enjoying yourself every day, it doesn't matter how much money you have in your bank account, you're miserable. Yeah. I mean, there's this thing that I tell myself this on a regular basis, like when you feel good, you do good. Right. It's not the other way around. And there are going to be times, I think, in every business owner's life where you maybe made a financial projection where you thought you were going to hit this goal, and then you realize, oh, I didn't hit that goal. And so you didn't have that financial piece come into play. But if you genuinely enjoy what you're doing every day, whatever that is, then that's what's going to help you bridge that gap and continue to push forward. Yeah. Because that's almost inevitable. Ask any business owner out there. They definitely probably had some type of fluctuation in finances at some point. It's just, it happens, It happens. Yeah. It happens. So, well, thank you. Yeah. Thank you. I feel like we could talk forever. We could. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This was great. Awesome. Love it. All right, this week's sneak peek from Saratoga Living is all about Halloween. So check out Saratoga Living Substack for all the full stories. And if you don't know what a Substack is, well, take a look. Our links are in the show notes. But Saratoga Living is only a 6 times a year publication. So it's after hours, is 3 times a week. And it's all super local online publication with all the timely, edgy stories that you need in your life. This year for Halloween, After Hours suggests going local. And I do not disagree. If you don't live in Saratoga, well, we'd love to hear from your ideas from Albany, Troy, Schenectady, or wherever you live in the capital region. So a couple of ideas they have for us is to dress up like the restaurant on Caroline Street, Hamlet and Ghost, one as Shakespeare's Prince of Denmark and the other in a sheet. So I love this idea for a kid, is to dress up like a blue bottle of Saratoga water. I mean, that is adorbs. I hope someone does that. What we actually think will be the most popular costume, which I can't disagree with, and this is not local, but let's just be honest, people are going to be dressed up as Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. I've already seen a ton of this on Instagram and social media already. It's fine. I also think we're going to see a lot of Barbies. So speaking of football, I'm sure a lot of ladies are watching the Chiefs play because they want to see Taylor in the stands. So for all of the insider info on where to watch, which teams in Saratoga, and who has the best snacks, the link to the full story is in our show notes. So go clickety-click over there. Thank you for listening to this podcast. And if you want to connect with me, slide into my DMs on Instagram. My handle is Catherine Hover.